So the guys are just wrapping this one up now. That's all the holes patched up, the gully's in place, and now they're just throwing in the last few broken tiles, and then we'll get out of here. So it's Saturday morning, and in the last video I was supposed to have gone over to Macclesfield to get the drone up to take some footage for a client that we did some works over there for. I was also supposed to show you the completed works over at the church in Tunstall. However, I simply just ran out of hours in the day. Obviously there's a lot more that goes on than besides what we're filming. And the church job wasn't completed just yet anyway. So there's a couple of guys over there now that are currently finishing it up. I'm just nipping over to him now to drop him off this anti-vandal paint, just to paint over that little bit of step flashing that we've put in at the bottom. And then from there, I'm going to head over to Macclesfield to get the drone up and finally take some photos for this client. Right, so that's the final drone footage taken of the Macclesfield job that was completed a few weeks ago now. So we can now send all the before and after photos over to the client. Now the works we actually carried out over there at Macclesfield was essentially re-roofing the front side of the roof. And the reason we didn't do the back is this. We were called out to that property once again over a leak, and the leak was on the front side of the building in one of the bedrooms upstairs. So when I got up in the loft, what I actually saw was the back side of this roof has actually been re-roofed at some point in the past before. You can actually see on the back side there's a newer type felt. I mean, there's holes in it and it looks poorly installed, but it has been installed and the back isn't leaking. And if you look at the front, well, that was a bodging roof also, and I explained in the last video what that bodging is. But unlike the one in the last video, this one has little to none bodging left. Now the homeowner did actually have some work done on the property. So as you've seen, the back has been re-roofed before, and that's because there was a leak on the back at some point. I don't know why the roofer at the time didn't advise to re-roof the whole thing, seems as the whole roof itself had no felt. But anyway, they re-roofed the back. Now the homeowner actually had a poor experience with this roofer. If you have a look at the photos up close of the back of this roof, you'll see how much they've actually butchered it. So they left holes in the felt on the inside. They didn't replace damaged slates. In fact, if you take a close look, you'll see what they've done is they've actually put a flashing sticky tape over all the damaged slates. It looks a real mess. Then later down the line, the homeowner decided to have the front done, but they had another contractor to do that because they weren't happy with the first guy for obvious reasons. So they got a scaffold up, and somebody got up there and was supposed to have done the front side of the roof. Turns out they didn't re-roof it at all. They only repointed the chimney stack. So a couple of years later, and another leak appearing, the homeowner decided to call us out. And obviously we got there, we saw what we saw, and we gave the customer a couple of options. There were some repair options in there, although again we recommended to the customer that they weren't really viable options and probably wouldn't work, as again I explained in the last video. And then we also offered to re-roof the entire thing, including the back again. Seems as the back was left in a pretty bad mess. But as you can imagine, this was getting expensive for the homeowner. They've already paid twice to have the roof done, and it's still leaking. So instead, we focused on the front to fix the active leak, and so we re-roofed the front. And we also repointed the chimney again. And the reason we pointed the chimney again is because although it had been pointed up, it had actually been pointed up in a cement mortar. Now, any repointing specialists will know that the type of brick, it's an old soft clay brick, it's not suitable for cement mortar, so it should be repointed in lime mortar as what it was built in the first place. Now, it's a very common thing for roofers and builders alike to repoint chimney stacks and buildings in cement mortar, and they probably don't even know that they're doing anything wrong. But what it will do is it will trap any moisture that's inside, and the moisture won't be able to escape. Whereas lime mortar, if there's any moisture from inside, whether it's from penetrating damp or condensation, it will allow any moisture to wick out to the surface. If we left the cement mortar pointing in place, then what would have happened is, over the years, moisture would be found internally along the breast walls, and as the moisture is trying to escape outside, because the cement mortar won't allow it, you could end up with blown bricks. As well as repointing the chimney in the lime mortar, we also reflaunched the top, and that's the better mortar that sits around the top of the pots of the chimney. So the guys stripped the front of the roof off, we refelted it, rebattened it, and then we reinstalled the original slates, bar the exception of replacing a handful that were broke. And each slate was double fixed with copper clouts. And when it comes to natural slates, using copper clouts is far superior than galvanised nails. And the reason why is copper clouts will just last much longer. They don't corrode as easily, and you won't get that nail fatigue. Unlike concrete tiles, slates don't have nibs on the back, so the only way that they're fixed to the roof and secured is to send clouts through and fix them to the batten. Whereas concrete tiles, they have little nibs on the back, as well as nail holes. They have nibs that hang onto the back of the batten and they hang onto it. So for example, if a nail was to go on a concrete roof, the tile isn't going to slip out because it's still hanging on a batten. So to fix the slate with standard clouts or nails, then what would happen is when the nails corrode, them slates are going to slip out. And the last thing you want to do is have a new roof and slates are slipping out all over the place. By securing them with copper clouts, we can be sure that the roof is going to last for years to come. So I've just nipped to the office real quick to come grab something, and sitting on my desk, Mark has left me this. Now I've not long come back from paternity leave from having a newborn daughter, so I'm assuming this is for her. So thanks, Mark. So you haven't seen Mark yet, but I'm sure you will in upcoming videos. But he's our BDM that works out of the office, so hopefully you guys get to see Mark soon. So whilst I'm in the office, I just thought I'd show you a couple of things. So if you're a customer that's looking for a new roof, we invite you over to our office, and just behind the camera there is where we sit you down, we go through all the paperwork, answer any other questions that you might still have, choose all your specifications, choose your colours. Behind me in the windows here, we have two displays. This one over here is for the larger tile, okay? And then the display model that we have over here is for plain tiles. Now what we can do with these displays is we can actually fully configure it to the roof that you want. So customers come in, they sit down, they choose what colours they want, they choose what type of tile they want. We can then put that over here on the display so that a customer has an idea of what they can expect their roof to look like. So we've got hundreds of tile types out in the yard, we've got plenty of fascia and soffit and guttering, and we have plenty of samples for customers to look at. So I've just managed to squeeze in a quick trim, and now I'm heading back over to the guys at the church as they're starting to wrap that up now. So the guys are just wrapping this one up now. That's all the holes patched up, the gully's in place, and now they're just throwing in the last few broken tiles, and then we'll get out of here. So that's it for today. The lads have pulled through. They've got the works over at the church completed. It's much appreciated that they came in on a Saturday. They stayed, long day, got it done, so they'll get a drink on me for that. And that's it for me today as well. I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend at home with the family. Next week is a very busy week, got a lot of things to look at. Monday we've got a couple of jobs that are starting, got a couple of things to go and look at. So I'm going to go spend the rest of the weekend at home with the family, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.